Hello everybody, I'm back. Of course it's the next day because dinner was ready, etc. And then after I looked at how much time the first video went, I decided maybe this should be like a two-parter. Unless I can figure out how the heck to edit it. And that's what I'm going to try to do, shorten some of it down. But anyway, where we left off yesterday, we were waiting for things to dry. This is my back cover. The front cover, I finished poking the holes after the glue dried. My back cover, I put, I think I had this on in the first part, was letting it dry. I then punched my holes. Put my back page on. I can't speak. Put the back page on, let it dry, and the reason I left these holes out is if you're doing this, when you put your first, I don't know how to word it, when you put the cover on, and if you bring it all the way to the edge, you need to punch through your holes. Once you do the front, if you punch through, when you put the back on, you can see it covers up the holes where I haven't punched. You can use the front as your guide to finish punching the holes out, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to finish these 3 holes to try to explain, and I'm having an issue with this. I'm sure it's a cheapie, but I have like 2 or 3 of them, and they all are crap. They just don't want to. And it makes it, believe me, you want that to dry, the glue to dry before you try to punch out your holes, because it'll make it much, much easier. So, there's my back. So I have my front and my back. And I don't know, I've been thinking and thinking and thinking, do I want to put something more on this? At this point, I don't think I'm going to, but my mind can change. You know, we all have a right to change our minds. So, my inside, my sections, I have a bunch of papers stacked up here. I took out my first section divider. I figured it's going to be a lot easier for me to work on it with it out of the book rather than in. That way I can cut around it, whatever I need to do. So that's why this is out. And I've been debating what I wanted to do on my section dividers. I know that I'm definitely going to put tabs on them. I've come up with all kinds of ideas, but I'm going to keep it simple. At the end of the day, this is a notebook for me to use. You know, it's going to have a lot of wear and tear to it. They always do. So I'm going to, I want it to be nice to look at, you know, for me, but at the same time, I want it to be reasonable for what I'm using this for. Excuse me, I had to have a drink of coffee. So, with that being said, I made a decision. Oh, I've had fabrics out and laces and you name it. And at the end of the day, I made a decision that for what I'm using this for personally, I want to try to keep it as simple as possible, but at the same time, look appealing to me. So I've come up with the decision that I am going to make Franken pages with scraps of scrapbook paper. And I have determined that and this is a poor color to use. Let me use something with, well, let me use a piece of paper here. I'm going to bring my edge to here on my section dividers. And I'll tell you why. I don't want to have to go through all this again for what this is. If I was making this for somebody, I would certainly do that. And if I thought this right here would bother me, but it's not for what I'm using this for. So by all means, you want to do it, go for it. It's just, you know, you have to wait for the front to dry, punch the holes, put the back on, wait for it to dry, punch the holes again. Which, if I had a hole punch worth anything, it may be a whole easier process. But for what I'm using this for, that's why I've made that determination. So I did know, one decision I had made early on was I wanted to stitch around my pages. Since I'm going to make Franken pages with different scrapbook papers, initially I thought, oh, I'll just put the paper down, I won't stitch. But I know me, and I know once I do my stitching out here, I'm not going to like the fact that there's stitching on, you know, the scrapbook papers. So what I've determined I'm going to do is I'm going to use just regular copy paper, and with where my edge is going to come, I can get the front and the back out of one sheet of paper. I'll just put my scrapbook paper on here, cut it where I need it to be cut, and then glue it to this once I do my stitching on the Franken page, if you follow me. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm... So I'm just going to do what I've done in my bin that I keep under my desk. I went through my scrapbook paper, my scrap bin, and I've taken out papers and I've sorted them by, sort of like by color. This is sort of like my pinkish, purplish, well, not purple, but my pinkish stack. Whoops. I have a stack of browns and black tones, I guess, is what I have this in my mind as. Darker tones. And I have a green and a blue. So I'm going to pull from those stacks. I'm not going to do anything crazy. I had fabric out. I was thinking, oh, I could do some fabric, some paper. I could add lace here and do this. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm not making a journal. I'm making this as a tool for me to use this year. So, with that being said, now, one thought that gave me was, for somebody new to the junk journaling world, you could actually make a journal out of one of these. Because, whoops, my paper here. You could remove pages that you don't need, but you could really go to town on this. This could really, you know, it's going to have this, which isn't a bad thing. But I mean, you could really make a journal out of one of these. This has the dots on it, so I don't know if it would tea stain, but I happened to think of that. I was like, I wonder how that would tea stain. But there's so much you could do with this, and by, you know, gluing pages together, you're making it thicker. Even with the hole punch thing, you could add different pages in here. You might want to reinforce it with hole reinforcers, but nonetheless, you could certainly make this into a really cute little journal. Be able to do all your little, you know, pockets, whatever you want to do, without having to build a cover, you know. You could add so much to that. So with that being said, I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. I thought I would do maybe a page and then finish them off screen, do the sewing, and then come back. And I'm just going to cut these. I think I just want them, well, I'm going to start rectangularly. And I don't know if I want, I might want torn edges. I say no, but then it might help if I turn this the right way. I don't know. Is it going to matter to me? I'm not going to mess with torn edges on this. I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to use my craft bond. I still have my scrungy old mat out here. And I think I figured out, and I don't know if the lighting will be any better on this, but I did a little bit of not major rearranging, but some rearranging when I was putting all my Christmas stuff away, cleaning that mess up. And I moved some lights around in here to areas that I thought I would like them better, and I think that really had an effect on my lighting and my camera position. My desk used to set a different direction, so my camera hung differently, and I just phoned my husband at work because he actually made my little camera, I don't know what you would call it, apparatus, I guess, that my camera hangs from. And if I move my desk around the other way, it would affect my work, the way that, the convenience of how I work, I guess. I am going to get a video out of my craft room this week. Excuse me. So I think once you see, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's just I have shelves behind me that house items that I am continually reaching for. And with my desk setting the other way, it would require me to, well, get up or move further. That sounds horrible to say that out loud. Let's see. I thought I would be so organized here with having these in color groups, and it's really not helping. I think that I want this bigger. Trying not to use too small of pieces. And I know this doesn't have to go all the way because I think I have a half an inch to deal with. I just hope this doesn't hit at a bad point. I just thought if I try to do on this, I can get a front and a back. I just don't want it to, when I cut it in half, to hit at a bad point. One thing I noticed, I had a lot of scraps that were the same papers. They must be my favorite papers that I go to, or at least the color scheme that I already used that. Now, I'm not going to worry about this much. I just, because I think it looks very nice once you stitch them. I think any color goes together. These are all papers that I've used and like. So I think I will like it. Everybody has their own preferences, right? brown. I like browns. I think I'm just gonna clear that edge. Trying to figure out. I had, well, they were for my company, but my old computers, I actually had video editing programs on them. That's crooked. I don't know if I can get that off. I'll just leave it. And one of the computers ended up with a virus, so I had to eliminate it. Bought a new computer, and then ended up I can't talk and chew gum at the same time. So I bought a new computer, and plus I was doing a different service for my clients at the time that I had to have a certain thing in that computer to enable me to do that. And so I replaced that computer. Then it wasn't very much longer. The other computer was just running really slow, and I had it for, oh my gosh, like probably 5 years. It had a lot stored in it for my company, so I felt like, you know, I got more than my money's worth. So I went out and bought another computer, and this was just all within a short period of time. I think the last one I bought was last December. Well, they have like a photo program or whatever, but the editing for the video is horrible on it. So I don't know if anybody has any recommendations, because I don't use my iPhone or my iPad. I've never done that. I use a camera and then, you know, download it onto my computer, and you know what I'm trying to say. At least I hope you do. I don't know why I've always loved this green and white. Well, it's sort of cream. I think it's been tea stained. I've always loved this paper. As simplistic as it is, I've always loved it. I'm just going to put that there, because I was looking at the video that I did yesterday, and I'm like, there's parts that I'd really love to edit out, and I would love to be able to mute it and fast forward or something like that, and with what I have, I can't see where I can do that. I don't know if there's a, I got glue on that. That'll be alright. And look how crooked I am. I don't know if it's the paper or if it's me. Come off of there. Try this again. And it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it is Franken paper, right? It's going to be stitched around. I don't know. I'm not crazy with that. Maybe once it's stitched and all that happy hoopla. I don't know if well, I'm just going to go for it. I said, Sheila, just go for it. Don't worry about it at the present time, what it's going to look like. That's my problem. I always try to plan this stuff out. I think that's why I'm an awful collager. I try to think, I'm thinking about the end product too much. So, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do 5 of these pages since I have 5 sections. I'm going to stitch around them, and then I will come back and show you what I have ended up with. White against white does not make it very easy. For my eyes, anyway. Doesn't have to be perfect. I might keep these little pieces. I don't think that's going to matter that that's not covered. I don't think. I might go ahead and I'm not liking the fact that everything's square. Oh well. Alright, that's what I'm going to do, and I will come back and we'll see what we have. Thanks. Hello, hello. I'm back again. So I finished all my pages as far as putting the scrapbook paper down, and I stitched around them. After which, don't they all look pretty? They all look pretty, I think, once they're all stitched and together. When you're doing them, you don't really know what they're gonna look like, but once they're stitched. I've already cut this one in half. I will make a great suggestion. I should have cut them after I put my scrapbook paper down. I should have cut them because, you know, one's going to be for the front, one's going to be for the back of the page before I stitched, because now I have to cut through my stitch marks. But anyway, even with that, I mean, it's not horrible. So I have this one cut, and what my plan is, I'm going to glue it to this. You know, of course, trim my excess, and then I'm going to stitch around the page itself, and that will be my divider. Instead of keeping you on here, well, maybe I'll go ahead and glue one down. I'll glue one down, and then let me see what kind of glue I want to use. Do I want to use PVA? I think I'm going to use, didn't give that much thought. Even though this was on copy paper, now that it has this scrapbook paper on it, it's become pretty strong paper. Trying to decide. I'm going to try PVA. Worst case scenario, I'll have to make another one. I don't think the, I could be wrong. I could try this, but I just think it's a lot of gluing. I think I'm going to try the PVA. We'll just do one, and then I'll turn you off, finish the rest. Because I think what I'm going to have to do, well, I know what I'm going to have to do. I have to glue this on. I'm going to cut then, once I place it, around the perimeter. Glue the back on, and then do the stitching. So I don't know if I'm going to need to let those dry before I put the back on. I'm just using the PVA because I can spread it with the brush. Get that halfway. I'm dangerous with glue. Wherever I don't want it, I get it, and wherever I need it, I don't. Seemed like there, I was thinking there was, well, I know that. I wanted to tell you that. Don't do what I did. It's going to be a lot easier if you cut it out. I wouldn't do, well, of course, you're stitching around the perimeter until you have it glued down, but as far as stitching around these, I definitely would not do until, no, I think I want this way. I don't think it really matters. You see, I have the, that's going to be showing, but I don't really care. It's going to be fine. If it bothers you, you can do this the same as we did the cover, you know. So once again, I'm just going to get my brayer out. I should have actually lined that up on the bottom, but I would have less to cut. Just let me get a pair of scissors here and see if I can cut this out. And then I'll just round my corners. I think I'll wait until I get the back on. That way I can do the back and the front together. Took a while to do all this stitching. And while I was doing it, I was like, this was supposed to be a fast project. But you know, I'm really gonna like it once it's done. I really am. Yeah, I just wonder, should I risk it? You know, I'm going to, I think I'm going to let that dry. I'll just go for it. I'm not going to be able to wait anyway. Let's see, which way is this going? Yeah, I want that up against that side. That's where I cut, and I have that thin strip, so I'm going to, yep, that's what I'll do. So I'll do this one and then flip you off, do the others. Excuse me. A weird day for me. I mean, not that I haven't done a whole lot but craft, but since tomorrow is a holiday, well, New Year's Eve, my husband's getting home early. Usually I do my laundry on Thursdays, and the last couple weeks, because of the holidays, I've been doing it on Wednesday, so I have my chores done for when the husband's home. Not that it really matters, but I just don't like that kind of stuff hanging over me, you know, that way if we decide to do something or whatever, I don't have my chores hanging over me. Really doesn't matter what day of the week I do them anymore, but that's all I really done. But I'll tell you, yeah, probably should have waited. Let's see. I guess I'm going to call that my top. Doesn't really matter on these, quite honestly. guess the thing I should have done is put this out to this side. I'm not going to be able to get that off, so I'm not going to worry about it. Do wet glue. I'm just going to trim this down just a little bit. Not much. I'm just going to have my white there. Threads. I'm going to round. Oh, maybe. Get this one. Go. So then I will stitch around the perimeter, trying to decide if I want to stitch. Yeah, I guess I'll stitch there. And that will be my divider. So I'll do these and do the rest and stitch around them and jump back on here when I get that done. Hello everyone, I'm back. It's the next day, but I am back. It took longer for my papers to dry before I could stitch around them, but I did get them stitched. I've added this and didn't think about it, didn't think to film it, but I added a Tim Holtz, I think, what's it called, hitch post maybe? For a closure. But let me show you my dividers, which I'm very pleased with. Oh, show you the back side too. Get in here. I did ink the part that I didn't cover. And 5. I think that's 5. Yeah, 5. So I was real pleased with the way those came out. My closure. Right now I'm going to keep these on. I think I will leave them on there. I was debating about cutting them down, but I think I'm going to leave them on. And as you can see, I assembled everything. So what I have left to do, we'll just get into it. I do want to make a pocket for the front. Initially, my plans were to put a pocket on each divider, but because of the thickness now of my dividers and even the cover with the added cardstock, it's quite full, and I haven't removed any paper. I guess you could remove some paper, but the key thing is I keep notes all year long, and I mean, this is sort of like my crafty Bible. Some pages I'm sure I'll rip out at some point, you know, how we do, but that's why I'm not going to add pockets to all of those, but I am going to make a pocket for the front, which I've already measured because I made one for the back. And for this particular notebook, I want it to be 3.5 tall and 5.5 wide. So I've already cut my paper to 4 by 6, so I could have 1/4 inch on each side here. And I'll show you what I mean. For new people, seasoned crafters definitely know what I'm doing. But I'm going to score 1/4 inch on either side and on the bottom. This will, for those of you that are new to the crafting world, this makes it so the pocket's not so tight. You know, you can fit more in it, and it just makes the pocket less tight, which is not a problem. I don't think I'll have a whole bunch in my pockets, but I did want the availability of having a couple pockets. If needed. Let me get one out of the way. I'm going to try to finish this up as easy as possible, or quick as possible. Oh, today is New Year's Eve. My husband was thrilled. He leaves every day at 6 a.m. So he's into work probably by 6:10, 6:15. And today he just has to work till 11, which will still be 5 hours, but to him, it's almost a half a day. I'm just going to put my little notch here. I don't measure this. I just eyeball it. Make this real quick. I guess the good thing about taking so long for the ink to dry, I'm horrible at making decisions. I can spend a day trying to make a decision on something very basic and simple in a journal. But I had to keep reminding myself, this is just my notebook. This isn't a journal. It's for myself. And normally I don't embellish my notebook. So that's what I had to keep reminding myself of as I was making decisions, or trying to make decisions. But I'd be interested in finding out what you're all doing for New Year's Eve. I know COVID is going to control a lot of that. I already told you what we're doing. Nothing. We're going to veg. My husband's going to cook on the grill for a nice dinner. And usually, quite honestly, that's pretty much how we ring in the new year almost every year. At least the last few. We either order out or cook something nice, have some munchies around, and just sort of chill. I'm just going to stick this right here. Now, all of you in the junk journal world know that this pocket could definitely be embellished. You know, you could add laces or collage on it. I'm not doing that because, once again, this is my notebook. I'm trying to keep it simple, but at the same time appealing to me. So we'll let that pocket dry. The other thing that I've done, I printed out a bunch of labels. I can just show you here. on sticker paper, and I just went through, I think some of these, this is Nick the Booksmith, Tracy Fox, Rachel from Roxy Creations, and I just cut out 5 labels. I didn't worry about their colors or shapes or any of that. I just printed out labels. So I have a label for each of my dividers, and I don't know how or what I'm going to do. And you know what I might do? I think I might wait on my labels until I add my tabs. So I've already printed my labels and inked those up. Tabs. I want tabs on each of my dividers, and this is what I decided on. As basic as they are, I have an old, let me close my blue here, one of the first traveler notebook inserts I made many years ago. I used these circle tabs. I just cut out circles, added an eyelet, tied some sari silk to them, and I loved them. I loved them. And I kept going back and forth. I had fabrics out, you know, because you could do fabric. You could do, you know, I have tab punches. You could do a whale's tail, which I don't have that punch, but I figured out, I think, well, someone on YouTube had said if you take a circle and cut the corners or something, you could do that. You could use clusters, add charms and bead dangles, all of that. And believe me, I thought of all of that. I had all of that out, and then I came back to my little circles. Just because this is my notebook, you know, you can make yours as elaborate as you want. So I've gone ahead and made 4. I'm going to make 1 more. And what I used, as you can see, is Tim Holtz paper. And I just punched out from scraps. Maybe I'll make a yellow one. Whatever caught my eye. I don't care if it matches or it doesn't match. It doesn't matter to me. So I just, and this is for anyone new, I already cut this piece out. Originally I was going to use that, and I was like, it's too white. So I'm going to use this to back this one. I glued 2 together just for the extra strength. And then I add an eyelet. Now if you don't have something to enable you to do an eyelet, you could just punch your hole and even use a hole reinforcer. I choose an eyelet just because this is going to get a lot of use, and I don't want my tabs falling off. Doesn't really matter where I punch that. I have an eyelet out. And there you go. That'll be alright. Get rid of that. Move that out of the way. I want to ink my circle. It was very hard for me not to go to fabric because I love fabric. Sort of like that now that it's on this one, I'm just going to add white. And the way I've been doing these for this, and you don't have to do it that way, I've been tying them too, just because I want my ribbon to sort of go sideways and not stand out. So I've been coming through, of course pulling, you know, the normal way. See how, which isn't bad, I just don't want them to be hanging out like that. So I just tie, pull my knot sideways there, and then my little ribbon goes sideways. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and place my tabs, and I don't really have an idea of what I want where, and I don't know. I know a lot of people start in the center and then work their way out. I don't think I'm not going to worry about that. I just don't know what I want where. Alright, I say it doesn't matter, and then see what I do. I want to start, well, I don't want to glue the whole thing. So I just want this out far enough that my ribbon sticks out. I don't care that it's upside down or sideways. Normally I put one on front and the back. I did these a little bit different, and I don't think it's really going to matter for what I'm using this for. So the second one, do I want them all to go? See, that's where I start playing around. Sometimes I just don't like boom, 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 boom. So maybe I'll put this one, I'll move this one somewhere else. And you have choices. Since I back them, you do have choices. I think I'm going to put this one right there. This one in the center, I don't know. I'll put that yellow in there. So I'm trying to get this video done, get a few other things done around the house here before the husband gets home. But other than that, it's going to be a quiet day for me. Trying to decide, maybe put that and that. Wait, what I'm going to do, this color needs to go up here. So I'll do that side. I'm just trying to hurry, try to make this last video. That's about good. That's about good. That's good English. And then, last one, somewhere about here. Decide I want that to show. The more I was looking at this, I think it, number one, it could easily be turned into a journal. That's for sure. It could be used for more than what I'm using it for. But there's so many options that you could convert this, you know. Like I said, if you do remove some of the paper, it's going to give you more freedom to embellish and add pockets and tucks and all of that, but you still have, you know, the writing space as well. It's really, I'm really pleased. I'm excited to use it. Probably start using it tonight because there. So now I got all my little ribbons that I so love. Well, sorry silk. So I got some fabric. Now I'll go back and this is going to be fun. I cut my nails a couple weeks ago. I desperately, look at the ink under them, desperately need to go get a pedicure and manicure. My nails just have not been top priority. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shut this off real quick so you don't have to suffer through me trying to get this off. Okay, I'm back. Good thing I stopped the video. That took a while to get that off the back of all of them. So this is what I've done. I've placed my labels so I can, you know, put my Etsy, YouTube, you know, the items that I wanted sections for. I placed a couple of them, you know, one down on the bottom, one over in the corner. But I'm real pleased with that. It's simplistic, but I think it's cute to look at, you know, add some interest. The last thing that I want to put on here is I stamped 2021 and I've glued that on. And I'm just going to put this on here. I'm keeping my cover very simplistic as I had said. And so I'm going to glue that on. I like those sticking out. I just love fabric. The only other thing that I thought of are like little bowl clips, paper clips. I might put a couple in here because sometimes as I start using my notebook, you get to a certain section and you're trying to find something specific. So if I'm referring to it, of course that glue would be stopped up. But you know, the more I worked with this, I was like just enthralled by, I don't know, even a journal for myself. I wouldn't mind having one like this. I'm a note taker. I mean, I constantly make lists and notes and what have you. So I always have had that. And I've had, you know, the planners that you can get from Joann's and what have you. I've always used one of those. Now, what is going on with this? There we go. But like, you know, you got plenty of room for your calendar, but then you don't really have room for notes. And like my planner that I got for this year is Daphne's Diary, which I've never had. But, you know, you have your calendar and you get these little pages in each week. But there's no place for the things that I like to, you know, like I said, I use mine because as I'm watching YouTube videos, I'll list down if I see a channel that I want to go to and can't at that time, I'll list it down. If there's a project somebody did that I want to try, I write it down. And my notebook, my husband knows, when we go down in the family room at night, I have my iPad, my phone, and my notebook. And each night before we come up to go to bed, he carries my things upstairs because I always take our dog out one last time, you know, before bedtime. And so he'll carry my stuff up, and he's always commenting on how much I have. Sometimes I have all of that, plus a small sewing basket with things that I'm embroidering, or, you know what I mean, working on slow stitch or whatever. And he always makes fun of me that, you know, the load is getting heavier and heavier for him each night to carry up. But I happen to have another thought on these, and I wish I would have thought about it, because I would have done it when I had the back cover off. I don't know if my sewing machine would have gone through it, but, you know, you could make a pen, I can't think of the technical term. You know, I could have added to the back here, but I don't trust glue to hold that, because a pen's something that you would be constantly up and down. But if I would have thought of that, I would have added one to the back here, I think, and stitched it, you know, to the cover to give it that added stability. But that's another thing that you could do. I had pulled out, like, I got, you know, for like people, newbies that don't have a lot of supplies, and not that I have a ton, but I've been doing this for a while, so, you know, you start accumulating. But, you know, if you wanted to do a you know, a fabric tab instead, you could use your scissors to cut the material, glue that on. You could easily add a dangle. This, look at this. I bought these little charms, $1.49 in the reduced. All you got to do is add another jump ring, or a, is it called a bear claw? Attach that, and it will attach right to your fabric, you know, for dangles. I had all of this out because I was making this very elaborate, much more elaborate than what I actually wanted to do and what my intentions were. So I had to keep reeling myself in. But I'm happy with my, I could have done different ones, and ultimately I told myself, make it simple, Sheila. And I like it. I think I am going to add a couple paper clips. I have some that I made. As far as the homemade paper clip part, I'm going to find those. But I'm going to stick a couple up here in the top, you know, a bowl clip, maybe a couple paper clips, just so I have them as I need them. And I'll be happy as can be. I'm so excited to use this. This is just tied, so I can untie that to give myself more room, is what I'm trying to say. Or if pages are removed, you know, I have the option to tie it tighter. But that's my little altered notebook, and I just love it. I really do love it. I'm so excited to use it. I'll go through and do my labels. But I'm really pleased with the way it came out. can't stop looking at it. But, you know, I look at it and you want to put something on it. At least junk journalers do. But this is my notebook. I appreciate everyone very much that takes time to visit my channel and actually watch the videos. Your comments, your support is very much appreciated. I can't say that enough. And I really do hope that 2021 is wonderful to all of us all around the world. U.S. has its issues right now, but hopefully all of that gets ironed out. And with this COVID thing, with vaccines, I think COVID will be a thing of the past. At least that's my hopes. In 2021, we can go back to living our lives again normally. Love to you all. Best wishes for a very happy and safe New Year's Eve. And I'll be back soon. Take care. Bye-bye.